Texas and Texas A&M gets together for the first time since 2011. This weekend, 7:30 at Kyle Field on ABC. Whoever wins this game, guess what? They go to the SEC Championship to face Georgia. I'm going to dive into that and more in just a second. But first, welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. I know you see all the Clemson paraphernalia around me, but I do talk about other college football teams just like, well, today. So if you like that sort of thing, I hope you will subscribe. I really do appreciate it. So in the preseason, the blue blood SECers, they were saying or making comments like this: you let Texas come on over here to the SEC. We'll show them what's up. And Texas said, okay, all right, we'll just let the dust settle. And now they are playing to get into the conference championship. Texas A&M, well, they've been in the SEC for a while and had quite the interesting ride. But they are playing for a championship spot in the whole SEC showdown with Georgia. Now, I'm going to be as objective as I possibly can be. I don't have a Longhorn or an Aggie in the fight. I have no ill will towards the schools, but just looking from the outside, just looking into it, it's kind of hard to call this ball game. Now, in the preview of the Georgia-Texas game, I picked Texas to win, and I made a massive mistake in that game. You're like, well, of course you're going to say you made a mistake because Georgia won. Here's the problem. I looked at Texas, and I overlooked who they had not played. So coming into that Georgia game, they had played Colorado State. They played Michigan. Pause there. This is not the same Michigan team that won the national championship. Different coach. A lot of the different players, like the main players who were a big part of winning the national championship, they're gone. So you have that. So it's not the same Michigan team. Same uniform, same stadium they play in, same fight song. They carry the title of defending national champions, but different team. They played UTSA. They played UL Monroe. They played Mississippi State. They played Oklahoma. And listen, up to that point, they had rolled everyone. But they hadn't played Alabama. They hadn't played Tennessee. And LSU is schizophrenic, but they haven't played them. And speaking of schizophrenia, they didn't play Ole Miss, the most schizophrenic team in the United States of America, and Georgia beat them. Now, the second half was a tale of two different games, two different teams playing in the second half. But Georgia got that thing under control in the first half, and then, they just held on. So Texas comes into this game, since then, beating Vanderbilt by 3. I'll give them a pass on that one. They hammered Florida. They beat Arkansas by 10. They beat Kentucky by 17. So Texas is a really good football team, but have they played the upper echelon other than Georgia in the SEC? The answer is no. Let's go to the other side of the football. Texas A&M in Mike Elko's very first game, they started off with Notre Dame. They lost by 10 points. Everybody's kind of looking at that game saying, well, Elko needs time. After that, he won 7 games in a row. He beat McNeese. He beat Florida. He beat Bowling Green only by 6. Beat Arkansas by 4. They're a tricky team anyway. Hammered Missouri. Now, that was the game where everybody started to sit up and take notes. But struggled with Mississippi State. But to be fair there, Mississippi State only lost by 10 points to Georgia in Athens. They beat LSU by 15 points. And it was like, whoa, okay, all right. Let's set up straight. I mean, A&M starting to do something, and then one of the biggest head scratchers of the year. Now, of course, I'm a Clemson fan, and I can't stand South Carolina. South Carolina's a really good football team as of late. They've progressed. But losing by 24 points to South Carolina, the wheels came off. I want to say there was a quarterback switch in that game as well. Their next game they played was against New Mexico State, hammered them. And then this past Saturday, Texas A&M loses to Auburn in what, quadruple overtime? It was something like that, 43-41. Now, this is not a Cam Newton Auburn team. This is not a Bo Nix Auburn team. This is your run-of-the-mill bad Auburn football team. You know, they'll have a really good year, a few really good years, and they go back to crap, and then they have those really solid few good years, and they go to crap, make a coaching change, and everything. That's where we're at with Auburn. You lost by 2 points to Auburn. Now, I know that they've been riddled with injuries. Why did I ramble so much about both of these teams and who they've played? Because coaching matters, and who you've played matters, and how you played in those games, whether they were wins or losses. That matters. That's how you figure out who wins ball games. That's how you figure out, this team has a really good chance of upsetting this team or getting hammered by this team. You look overall. You cannot base everything on that, but you can get a pretty good idea of who's going to win, who's going to lose, and how competitive they'll be based on who they've played, how they've played, and even in their losses, how did they lose. Losing to South Carolina by 24 points doesn't make sense. Losing by 10? Beating Auburn by a field goal would have been seen like, what were they doing? They were farting around. But you lost to Auburn by 2 points. In the past 3 games, A&M's lost 2 ball games. Again, their only win is New Mexico State. So you come into this game and you're asking yourself this question. You're asking yourself a question that I'm posing. Which team has the most impressive schedule? You would say Texas to a point, but then they lost that game. Well, they beat the crap out of, and I'm talking about to Georgia. But then you would say, well, they beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not good. There's a reason that there's only a 5.5 point difference between these two teams, according to Vegas. You know, the guys who sits around figuring out how they can scam the public to make more money. I mean, if you've tried to scam them in their casino, that is illegal and wrong and unethical. Different video, different channel, I guess. But the point here is this. Whoever wins this game goes to the SEC championship. Notice there's no LSU in this game. There's no Tennessee, no offense, Vols. There's no blue blood. Ole Miss played themselves out of it. South Carolina, even though much improved, is out of it. So the point here is that the state of Texas is going to have a representative in the SEC championship game, unless there's something that I've missed. So who do I think wins this ball game? First off, Mike Elko is a really good coach. To do what he's done in 1 year at Texas A&M, playing in the SEC, inheriting a mess, and inheriting, I think, one of the most embarrassing situations in all of college football. And I'm hoping that A&M, and not only A&M, a lot of teams will begin to learn from their mistakes and the mistakes of others of giving coaches these massive buyouts, because coaches end up in a situation kind of like A&M did, right? Fortunately, they got a good coach like Elko. Here's the problem. Sark has been at Texas for a decent amount of time now. He's coming off of a playoff appearance. He has more going for him right now. So, who do I think wins this ball game? I see Texas winning this game. I'm not saying Texas A&M can't win it. If they won it, I wouldn't be completely shocked. I'd be like, okay, they did it. They went against what I thought, but it's not like an FCS school beating Texas. It's not like Mississippi State beating Texas. A&M is definitely a worthy competitor, and they could definitely win it. I just see Texas having more in the bank here. They have Quinn Ewers. They are They're solidified on their quarterback. A&M has been bouncing back and forth, had to make quarterback changes. Folks, when you're having to make quarterback changes later on in the season, for whatever the reason may be, injury, inconsistency, trying a dual quarterback system, it most times, more times than not, it spells for disaster and inconsistency. So just based on tenure, based on consistency at quarterback, I'm picking the Texas Longhorns to win this game. Hey, drop me a line in here to let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Could you see it going both ways? Do I need to straighten up my hat? Do I need to change my hat? Do I need to hide while I do these this whole commentary? Okay. All right. Either way, I hope you will subscribe. It is free. Drop me a line and let me know what you think in the comments section. You take care of yourself, and representing my team, hope you have a good weekend, and go Tigers.